Hi, so today's video is going to be about how to find a site. You've watched step one and you now understand how to think about a project budget and how to think about the money that it's going to cost to get you your dream home. So stay tuned to the end of this video to get my top 5 tips on how you can find yourself a building plot. Now there are loads of places that you can go to find building plots advertised. Some will come with planning permission, some will come without planning permission. You need to understand that if you buy a site without planning permission, you're putting all that risk on yourself. There are ways and means of de-risking buying a site without planning permission, and that's something that we'll probably cover off in another video, so it starts to get a little bit complex. But essentially the key ways in which you're going to be able to build your dream home are by either buying a site that already has planning permission, buying an existing property and knocking it down and starting again, buying a piece of land that has no planning permission, and that, as I said, you take the risk on to try and get planning permission, or finding a building that you can convert under permitted development or through the planning process. So how do you go about actually finding those opportunities? Yes, there's online sites. You can go to places like Rightmove and Plot Finder and many other well-known online brands to look for things. Quite often you'll find that if something's been sitting there for a while, it's probably overpriced. And pricing again is something that I'd like to talk to you about in another video. It's important to understand how sites are priced, why they're priced at that level, and what you can do from a negotiation point of view to try and bring that into a more commercially viable position. But certainly there are opportunities that do sort of come up on these online platforms that give you a chance to pick up someone that already has planning permission. Obviously you can get yourself friendly with estate agents, and that's another way to find yourself a plot. But then don't forget the property auctions, and don't forget going to actually talk to people. Most property deals that I'm involved with actually come through knowing the person that's selling the piece of land, or having some form of contact, or developing that relationship, rather than just relying on an estate agent to do the work for you. Before any of that though, the important thing is you need to know where you want to live. You can get really bogged down with searching for sites, and because there is a lot of rubbish online in particular, it's best to actually first off think about where it is that you want to live. I mean, some people, they'll already know, they only want to find a plot near where they currently live. Others, you may want to move to a new location. If you do want to move to a new location, go and focus on that new location, spend time there, spend time in the local pubs and the local restaurants. Do whatever you can to mix with people that are already living in that area, because they will be a fantastic source of knowledge. Once you get to socialise, make friends, chat down the pub, that's when those plots of land that haven't made it yet to the online sites, and that haven't made it yet to estate agents, that's where they become available. That's where you get that personal interaction with the landowner, and you get to talk about what it is that you want to do. You find that there is a lot of negativity around building new houses and building plots. A lot of people, it's seen as a bad thing to have a new house built on the edge of a village, or within a village, or out in the open countryside. That's generally because it's seen as profiteering. But if you can sort of make friends and find that area that you want to be in, and explain to people why you want to be there, explain that you're not coming to make a fortune off of a piece of land, that you're not coming to pull the heart out of a village. You've just found somewhere that you love and you want to be a part of that community. That's such an important message to bring and to give, and it really does help grease the wheels a bit when you're trying to get applications through. By all means, be authentic. Don't try and don't use this approach if you don't really mean it. If you are just trying to build a property and profit, it's going to come across quite disingenuous if you do pretend to want to be part of the community just to sort of put up something that's going to make you the most profit and then leave as quickly as it's finished. So definitely. Definitely, if there's a community that you want to be part of and that you've fallen in love with, make every effort to get yourself ingrained in that community before you move forward with your planning application. And that way, you may even get support. It's tough to get letters of support when it comes to putting in a planning application. But if you've gone and you've done the legwork, it's highly likely that you will get one or two people, if you ask them, that will put forward a letter of support for what you're doing. So, and also when you've found your area that you want to be in, as part of your sort of campaign of getting to know the locals and getting to know the community, don't forget to look at the local authority websites. Don't forget to look at what's going in from a planning permission point of view. Who is active? Are there people active? Are there plots already that look like they're going to come to market soon? Is it landowners that are putting applications in, or is it private individuals who have found sites and are going for planning permission? And the same goes for permitted development opportunities. Local authorities treat barns that can be converted into dwellings very differently from one borough to another. Some will look at modern barns, metal barns, as being certainly a structure that you can convert into a great modern property. Others will look at them and say, no, the structure isn't there to hold a floor and it's not good enough. It's not a good enough base for property, and therefore it doesn't fall under the PD requirements. Others will be more protective of their stone barns. They'll see that as agricultural history and do what they can to prevent those buildings from being converted under PD. So it's very much a case of doing your research beforehand and seeing whether or not you're sitting within a local authority area that is supportive of the PD application that you want to make. A big increase recently has been custom build sites. There are certain areas of the country now where property developers have bought pieces of land and they've gone for planning permission, but they haven't gone for planning permission for houses that just get repeated and repeated and repeated. Instead, what they've done is they've gone for planning permission to create a series of rules to allow them to sell the plots off individually for people that would like to build their own homes. Bicester has a prime example of this in Graven Hill, where there are lots of self-build plots and opportunities for people to build their own homes, but within a community of other people building their own homes. The majority of you will want a plot that's out in the middle of nowhere. It's just the way that it is. Most people, when they dream of building their own homes, they think of a piece of land with rolling countryside and views to enjoy. It has to be sort of said that they are the hardest to find. Not only are they the hardest to find, they're the hardest to get planning permission on. Those plots, if you want to go down that route, if you want to go down the route of building in the outside of the confines of existing settlements, the type of application that you need to do is very, very, very high quality and very expensive. You now need to be prepared to invest a good chunk of cash, and by chunk of cash I'm talking tens of thousands of pounds, in that application process before you even know whether or not you'll be able to build that house. So to tread very carefully with applications in the open countryside, also known as paragraph 79 and previously known as paragraph 55 applications. We have, as a practice, achieved a paragraph 79 application and got permission to build outside of a settlement. It took a lot of effort, and it was as much about getting the case officer involved in the story of why we wanted to build as it was doing the architectural work. And in the end, we got that through on the high design side of paragraph 79, and the fact that the location was still classed as sustainable. By far, for me, I think that the best opportunities out there are where you've got existing properties that are tired of a certain era and and sitting on good sized plots, and you bring them down and you start again. And there's lots of reasons for this. Quite often, particularly if you're looking at sort of mid-previous century builds, you find plots that are quite generous with not so desirable houses on, so you get a reasonable price for the piece of land that you're working on. From a planning permission point of view, there's already residents there, so it's already a residential piece of land. Yes, you have certain issues to overcome when it comes to scale and changing the size of the building that you've got on site, but those issues are not insurmountable. They're certainly a lot easier than building a house out in the middle of the countryside that doesn't already have residential status. Also, there are plays that can be had with things like VAT. So for example, if you find a plot with a decent sized house on it and you're quite happy to rework some of the foundations and the floor plate that are there, if you take that existing building right down to the floor plate, you can reuse the foundations, reuse the ground floor, and it's classed as a new build. So saving yourself a huge amount of money of what's going on in the ground. Obviously, you need to do structural checks to make sure that the substructure is suitable, but VAT, or zero rated construction, starts at ground floor level. If you leave any walls up, that doesn't work. You lose the zero rated VAT on your construction. But if you come down to that ground level point, reuse the ground slab and reuse the foundations, you can save yourself an absolute fortune in construction and benefit from the zero rated VAT. An area where we get questioned a lot about is the right to build, and the legislation that basically says that local authorities need to supply land for people that want to build their own homes. There are registers, each local authority should have a register of all the people in their area that would like to obtain a plot and build. I am yet to meet somebody that has actually gone through this process and come out with a piece of land. There may be many success stories, but right now it is not really a viable option. If you're in a position where you're looking to do something soon and you join one of those registers, you'll be going at the back of the register and you'll be sitting there for a long time. It's just not something that local authorities have really got their heads round, and they're not really motivated to be dealing with this. So the right to build, it exists. It's legislation that's there to try and help self-builders, but at the moment it still doesn't seem to be something that local authorities are happy supporting. So I guess if I was to boil down my advice into 5 key tips on how to find a plot, they would probably run something along the lines of: number 1, get local. Go and find the place that you want to build in or you want to convert in. That's number 1. Number 2, go and make friends with the people that are there. Go and be part of the community. Visit there on weekends. Go to the local pub. Start chatting. Start understanding what the local vibe is, if you like, and really start to be part of it, so that when you do come forward with your application, or you do buy a plot that's already got permission or that's suitable for PD, you find that you're supported by the local community rather than having lots of objections. Number 3 has got to be about educating yourself around the local authority that it is that you're looking to build within. Find out what their attitude is like. Find out if it's PD conversions that you're looking for, permitted development conversions that you're looking for. Find out whether or not that council is very supportive or very negative. Find out what sorts of buildings they're supportive on and what ones they keep throwing back. If it's a building plot that you're going for and you want to be out in the countryside, see whether or not that local authority has supported other paragraph 79 applications or previously paragraph 55 applications. See what the local attitude is, and see how they supported those. Were they supported based on sustainability, or were they supported based on high design? If it's high design, definitely be expecting to invest heavily in that application, and see whether there are other applications that are already in the process, that are already going through the system. Is there something? Could you grab a march on something quickly before it gets to market? Tip number 4 has got to be avoiding the right to build registers. It's a nice idea, but there just isn't the support out there for you. And if you think you're going to find a decent plot, an exciting plot on these registers, you'll be very sad when you finally do get an offer in and it's an old garage site stuck somewhere in the middle of a town that you're not really interested in living in. And finally, tip number 5 is, for me, the best way to find a plot is to recycle, is to reuse a site that already exists. go and find something from somewhere between 1950 and 1970 where you're going to find that you've got decent sized plots, normally with not too bad sized houses on, but by recycling a plot, by reusing something that's already had a dwelling on, you're going to cut back so many of those issues that you face at planning, and you've got a much better chance of getting that dream home you want in a community that you want to live in. Hopefully my 5 tips are helpful and give you a little nudge in the right direction to getting the plot for that dream home of yours. As always, if you like what we're doing, please like the video, subscribe to the channel and drop any comments you've got in below. We're always interested in hearing what people would like us to create videos about, so please let me know. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram where you can make comments there as well about the work that we're doing. Check out our other videos for design tips and how to navigate the construction industry. I'm Neil Scroxton and thank you ever so much for watching.